What's up, guys? I'm Chase.
And I'm Landon. And today we're going to be giving you everything that you need to know about these three upcoming Nike Dunk lows and how to count them. All right, so first, thanks for stopping by to check us out. Now let's go ahead and start off with the basic info for these sneaker releases before we move on. So all three of these dunks, the Coastal Blue or UCLA, the Hyper Cobalt, and the UNLV will all be releasing at 7 a.m. Eastern or Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern time on the sneakers app confirmed, and most other sites that we'll touch on later. And this release was originally intended to drop earlier this year, but after being delayed for a few weeks, the release has come. So now all three pairs of these dunks have a retail price of $100, consistent with most dunk low releases. So there's nothing really new there. So let's take a closer look at the overall design and why you should definitely be going for these shoes. All right, so before we hit on the places and the sites that are dropping these dunks and how to cop, let's go ahead and take a look at the overall design and what makes these three dunks worth your time. So the hype around this release stems entirely from the model. You know, there's no collab or anything like that, but with the rebirth of the dunk model, which at one time used to be sitting collecting dust on shelves, you know, we have seen a complete 180 turn, and now any and all dunk models are more or less just off the charts. So let's take a quick look at each one. So starting with the Coastal Blue or UCLA, this is hands down my favorite of the three. But first glance, I had my mouth watering because it really resembled the North Carolina blue to me, which would have been perfect with me because I am a UNC Tar Heel fan. But these actually draw inspiration from a college on the West Coast in UCLA. So you have that powder blue kind of paired with the yellow or gold to represent the UCLA color scheme, and just all together, these are just super clean. But moving on from there, we have the Nike Dunk Low Hyper Cobalt, and so looking at that color scheme, you have the black overlaid with the blue or Hyper Cobalt, a little bit of a weird blue in my opinion, and although you could make the case for these being like a Kentucky or even maybe a Duke dunk theme, you know it is in Kentucky because there already is a Kentucky dunk out, a low dunk that released around this time last year. So it more looks like something you almost could have like Nike ID'd whenever they opened that up like last month, I think it was, but these are still pretty solid. And the last pair is going to be back to college themed with these dunks repping the UNLV colorway or University of Nevada, Las Vegas for the full name of that university. And these are pretty clean. You know, in order of my personal favorites, I would probably say it goes UCLA and then the UNLV, and Hyper Cobalt would probably be my third, but between the UNLV and the Hyper Cobalt, it is pretty close. And it's worth it to mention really quick that at the moment, it does seem that UCLA dunks will be releasing in only men's sizing, but the Hyper Cobalt and the UNLV dunks will be having some grade school sizing as well. And like I said, I'm definitely feeling the UCLA dunks than the UNLV and the Hyper Cobalt, but I am pretty curious on what you guys think about these three dunks. So feel free to comment below which ones are your favorite, and we can just interact back and forth off that. But now that we've gone ahead and checked out the overall design on these dunks and the release date info, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chase, and he can tell you what sites are releasing these and the resale aspect, stuff like that, and your best chance on how to cop.
Thanks, Landon. All right, so now I'm going to tell you which sites are dropping these dunks and at what time. So starting off at 10 a.m. Eastern time, you have DTLR, Finish Line, JD Sports, Foot Locker, Champ Sports, Shop Nice Kicks, Shoe Palace, and of course Nike sneakers. Now I wanted to say that Shop Nice Kicks and Shoe Palace only have the Hyper Cobalt colorway scheduled to be released in GS sizing, but it's really hard for me to believe that they only are getting the GS size of that one colorway, so I'm sure they're going to have the other ones as well. But at the time of this recording, these are the only retailers that have announced the release, but we're going to actually leave some sites that might drop them and the links in the description. But let's move on to the resale of each colorway. Before giving my resale prediction, let's look at the average sale prices of the third-party marketplaces like eBay, StockX, Go, and Flight Club. Now, as a disclaimer, these prices are a little bit higher because they're currently unreleased, but because prices fluctuate all the time, we left the links in the description below to all the marketplaces for you to check out. But starting off at the Coastal colorway, StockX is at an average selling price of $347, Goat's at $358, eBay's hovering between $300 and $350, and Flight Club's is at $382. Now for the Cobalt colorway, StockX is at $213, Goat and Flight Club are at $222. eBay doesn't have any completed sales yet, but the listings are between $250 and $300. And finally, For the red or the UNLV colorway, StockX is at 206, GOAT's at 232, and eBay's between 200 and 220, and Flight Club's at 232. Moving on to the stock numbers, the Coastal colorway is rumored to have less than 15,000 pairs, and next to that you can see the estimated size distribution, and that's going to show you which size has the most stock. As for the Cobalt, the stock is supposed to be around 20,000, with the sizing going from the men's 6 to 15. And finally, the UNLV colorway stock is supposed to be similar to the Cobalt's at 20K, with similar sizing 6 to 15 and boy sizing the 3.5Y to 7Y. So taking everything into account, my resale prediction for the men's sizing will be $250 to $300 for the Coastal, $200 to $250 for the Cobalt and the UNLV colorways. Now that's going to net you a profit between $100 to $200 per pair, depending on which colorway you cop, the sizing, and where you sell. My recommendation is to focus on Q-based sites like Foot Locker, Champs, Finish Line, and JD Sports. Usually these sites get a healthy amount of stock and their checkout process is pretty straightforward. Now, if you are on the go and you can't sit and wait in those online queues, you can always enter in the Nike Sneakers app. Now, as a reminder, make sure you visit the app before the drop. You click that notify me button so you don't miss that 10 a.m. drop time. All right, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Toby for requesting a hold or sell section in our videos, but let's get on with it. So should you hold or sell? To hold or sell is actually very subjective when it comes to it, but I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on what I would do after I cop these dunks. Now for dunks in general, these are always going to go up in time just because they're dunks, but specifically these aren't a dunk with a collab, so the value is not going to increase as fast with a dunk with a collab. In my opinion, I would recommend holding on to the Coastal colorway since it features that famous sky baby blue, and that will always be in style. As for the other 2 colorways, these are a sell. The Cobalt and the UNLV colorways are just not as nice when it comes down to the color blocking, and that's why you can actually see the market on those pairs are lower than the Coastal as well.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for episode 8 of how to cop the upcoming Nike Dunk Low, UCLA, UNLV, and Hyper Cobalt. Thank you guys for stopping by to check us out. And for more sneaker news, our available shoes that we have for sale, and just anything that we do, feel free to go ahead and click the link that's inside of our bio and check that out.
Also, feel free to comment, interact below to let us know what shoe you want to hear about next. But until next episode, peace.